Most of us know the names George Floyd, Ma'Khia Bryant, and Daunte Wright. Black men and women, even children, killed by police who have come to represent the faces of the movement. Tonight, we want to introduce you to a name that you probably haven't heard, Jamee Johnson. Jamee was a 22-year-old Florida A&M student when he was shot and killed by a Jacksonville Sheriff's deputy in December of 2019. The deputy, Josue Garriga, pulled Johnson over for a traffic infraction. He says that Johnson wasn't wearing his seatbelt. Garriga said he smelled marijuana and asked Johnson if he had anything in the car. He claimed Johnson admitted to having a firearm. The deputy then ordered Johnson out of the car. Here's a clip of the body cam video from the scene. A warning, though, the video is graphic and may be upsetting for some.
Here now. There's huge shots fired.
Please don't let me die. Please don't let me die, sir.
Don't grab that gun.
My hands up.
The last words you heard from the officer: he tried to grab his gun on me. What would be some of Johnson's last words ever: please don't let me die, sir. After an investigation, local authorities ruled the killing was justified, but the family says this was murder. Earlier this year, the family filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the officer, the sheriff's department, and the city. Joining me tonight, Harry Daniels Jr., the attorney for Jamee Johnson's family. Harry, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Yodit.
All right, so the state attorney ruled that the sheriff's deputy was justified in killing Jamee because he was reasonably in fear for his life. Why do you and the family say this was in fact a murder?
Well, the information that we received from the state's attorney's office has some clear inconsistencies with the reports. In fact, the timing in which Jamee would have done some of the things that Officer Garriga, stated that he did, it's just impossible. The timing of the shooting from once the vehicle stopped and the shooting that took place, not enough time elapsed for it to take place. Officer Garriga stated that Jamee tried to grab his gun on him, trying to put the gun on him. But in fact, the gun was still located inside a jacket, the same jacket that Jamee had already stated on the scene that the gun was inside. It was actually inside the jacket, wrapped up inside a pocket. And in fact, the crime scene analyst said the gun was very difficult to remove. So from the time of the vehicle crashes through the fence and Officer Garriga getting out the car, it would have been enough time for that to transpire. But more than that, Officer Garriga gives a statement in July of 2020, well after this shooting, and he states the position where Jamee was positioned, where he was at the time, location of where Jamee was reaching inside the vehicle. And that statement is it's inconsistent with the medical examiner report. In fact, as you can see from the video, Garriga was standing on Jamee's right side when he shot it. But in fact, all the bullets went in Jamee left to right, front to back, which is consistent with the eyewitness who stated once the vehicle stopped, once Garriga got the vehicle, and Jamee exited the vehicle with his hands up. In fact, you have bullet wounds in Jamee's posterior elbow, which is consistent with him raising his hand. So we're not saying that Jamee did everything pristine that day. We're not saying that. But in fact, we believe the evidence should show that Jamee gave up, he surrendered, and Garriga still shot and killed him. And his own statements, is inconsistent with the Jacksonville medical examiner's pathology report, trajectory of bullets, entry and exit wounds. So we believe that the officer's not being truthful. He's trying to cover up his wrongdoing, and that's why we filed a federal lawsuit in this matter, to get justice for this family.
All right, so I want to talk about how the sheriff's deputy claims is played out. You definitely went through your rundown, but he released a lengthy statement claiming he believed his life was in danger. Let's pick up with his description of what happens after you see the car pull away and crash. He writes, "During the physical struggle, I was able to grab the right wrist of the driver, which the handgun was still in, and was able to push myself out of the vehicle. As I exited, I observed the suspect moving his body in my direction, and I believed he still had the gun in his possession. Fearing for my life, I fired my issued firearm at the suspect until he was no longer a threat." Now, what are your biggest issues with his account? But before you get into that, because I know you mentioned some, wasn't his statement actually taken several months after the fact?
His statement was taken. In fact, he gave that statement around 7 to 8 months after the fact. And that statement was given after we produced a eyewitness to this matter. So all of a sudden, there was no statement. The state's attorney is ready to deem this justified without even giving a statement from the officer. We produced an eyewitness, and that eyewitness is very credible because what that eyewitness told us, what happened, that's exactly what was depicted on the video before the video was released. That's why we knew the veracity, the truthfulness of that eyewitness was not slanted, it was not tainted. He told us exactly what happened, and we saw that on the video. But you're exactly right. The officer did not give a statement until 7 to 8 months later. 7 to 8 months later to after the incident had occurred.
And this was a statement that, like you said, the attorney's office basically took for truth because this part of the statement wasn't caught on body cam, correct?
That's correct. And you look at the statements that the declaration by Officer Greene in his statements, he's talking about Jamie having the gun in his hand. He pointed the gun at me. I tried to pin myself behind the suspect in the seat. I got the vehicle believing that the suspect still had the gun in hand. When he exited the vehicle, I shot and killed him. Yodit, when did Jamie have time to put the gun back in the jacket, inside the pocket, and wrap the gun back up? He did not, because it did not happen. This officer was upset at Jamie of trying to get away. Jamie tried to grab his identification. He tried to get away. He made a bad decision. He tried to get away. But just because he tried to get away does not justify him being killed. And Jamie surrendered. He gave up. He tell you when he's on the ground, you didn't show that part, and and for reasons so that he told him, I gave up. But in America, we see black men who unarmed, who give up, who's running and who's fleeing, get shot in the back of the head, as Andrew Brown up in North Carolina, or or George Floyd, who's not doing anything and get a knee in the back of the neck. When is enough is enough. This is very clear. This case have not garnered national attention as it should. Jamee Johnson was a student for FAMU University, no criminal record whatsoever. He was stopped for a seatbelt infraction. A seatbelt infraction that led to his death. Now, the decisions he made some bad decisions. But even in making those bad decisions does not warrant death, especially when you give up. There's no justification whatsoever. The officer actually gave statements on the record, under oath, that's inconsistent with the medical exam report. That's inconsistent. So when you look at his own statements, and we're not talking about statements that you just read, it's further statements that he gave to a review board that's inconsistent with the medical exam report, Jacksonville medical exam report. And we believe this is an unjustified shooting. Know how that this shooting is justified. The events that the officer stated that took place, that's not enough time for it to take place. And the gun was still placed up. It was still in the jacket.
All right, Attorney Harry Daniels, please keep us posted on the latest in this case. We're definitely interested in seeing how this all plays out, and we definitely would welcome you back. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Yodit. Thanks for having me. Thanks. Have a good night.
Of course. You too. All right, we just told you the facts of the Jamee Johnson police killing. Now we turn to our legal experts. One a veteran prosecutor, the other a seasoned defense attorney. They make their case after the break. Okay, we've got some legal stories to break down, so we've got to bring in the experts. Back with me is BNC's legal contributor and veteran prosecutor Paul Henderson and Mark O'Mara, noted criminal defense attorney. Thank you both for being here.
Pleasure.
All right, guys, let's start with the tragic case of Jamee Johnson, the police shooting victim, whose story we brought to you in the last segment. You watched the previous segment, and now we'll show you a little more of the body cam video and get your thoughts. This is from the first part of the stop. The officer said he pulled Jamee over for a traffic infraction, that he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The audio isn't great here, so we're not going to play the sound, but he then comments that he can see marijuana flakes on Jamee's clothes. How did he get to the point where Jamee is now out of his car and being patted down? Mark.
Well, it seems like what he did was take a traffic stop, something as small and as little as a seatbelt, and turn it into whatever else cops often do, particularly young black males, which is, I smell pot, I see something, tint is too bad, whatever it might be, because the default is to investigate further and find out if you can find anything. I've had too many cases where the smell of pot shows up in an otherwise normal traffic stop.
Paul, this seems like a classic example of a pretextual stop where an officer pulls you over for a traffic violation and then say, oh, well, I smell marijuana, which is something that is usually hard to prove.
Yeah, it's hard to prove, and that's partially why it's pretextual. And I think it's an interesting analysis when you look at the majority of states that have allowed marijuana use, either for medical or licensed purposes. So that's like 33 states in this country that allow it. And again, we're not talking about federal police. We're talking about state actors here and local actors here. And so it's a ruse to escalate things and escalate encounters, just like this encounter escalated from not having a seatbelt on. We have to look at and examine what that pattern is, what the practice is of policing that allows encounters like this to escalate disproportionately for communities of color, and specifically with African American men. We know that those statistics that you cannot argue with, that it's 5 times more likely to encounter lethal force when encountering the police if you're an African American man. That's partially why we have to look specifically focused on these pretextual stops and eliminate them or create boundaries whereby the police have rules to follow that they cannot escalate. They cannot engage in ways that lead up to this type of lethal force. That's why we have these rules, and the most frustrating thing about it is these are known best practices. We have to ask the questions of every jurisdiction, why they are not following best practices. Why are they continuing with the systemic problems that we have with disproportionality in policing? That's really what's at the heart of this pretextual stop that ended in this tragedy.
Okay, now take a look, guys, at another clip. All right, so Mr. Johnson says he has a legal gun in the car. The officer doesn't seem concerned. He also allows Jamee to reach in the car to get his wallet, but then Jamee goes to get in the car, and that's when the officer shoots him. From what you see in this clip and what you saw earlier, what's your take on his actions there? Mark.
Well, certainly what Jamee did, Mr. Johnson did, was inappropriate, and it is a crime. It's a crime of resisting violence without doing violence, resisting arrest without doing violence. And sure, the officer can then arrest him at some point, but the reality is, at that precise moment, when he knows it's just a misdemeanor, the cop knows that, he's the one trained. If he knows that's all it is, why even jump in a car? You're never really supposed to jump in a car with anybody. And if you know there's a gun there, that's another reason for the officer, who is supposed to be the professional, to back away. You have his information, the license has already been run. This concept that law enforcement refuse to allow people to leave just because they're not supposed to, and to escalate it to what the officer escalated this to, it was unnecessary. And even further, as you go down the videotape, the problem with it is that though they have the excuse, and it seemed to have been given to them by the state attorney, the excuse to use force at that point, if you really think about it, it was a misdemeanor that was non-violent at that point, and there was no suggestion that Jamee Johnson was trying to use any threat against the officer. As a matter of fact, we know the opposite. What he was really trying to do is get away. Let him get away and catch him another day.
All right, now let's turn to a couple of other cases, all right? The Ronald Greene police killing. I don't think there's any question here about justification. The level of public outrage is so high. When do you think we'll see criminal charges, if at all? Paul?
Well, I don't know that we will see them, if at all, as you alluded to, and this is part of the problem with the lack of reform in that jurisdiction. We don't have standards of professional assessment that are giving us information about an independent evaluation as to what happened at a local level, at a state level, at a federal level. We have no information that we can rely on from independent sources like medical reviews or the Civilian Accountability Agency reviewing that information, or information from internal affairs alluding to charges or concerns that are internal from the department, let alone external from the elected officials and the prosecutorial office that is charged with. That means it's mandated that they be reviewing cases like this to determine, because this is what prosecutors do, they determine who gets charged and what they get charged with. And that's why we have to have a broader discussion that goes beyond just the policing into the institutions that support the policing and to thus far have been supporting the systemic challenges that we've had with a lack of communication, a lack of accountability. And this is why we keep having these same conversations over and over. And it's not going to end anytime soon. I am not confident that we are going to get clarity in the decision in this case from the agencies that are in charge of that investigation. And that's a disappointment, but an opportunity for us to do more and to demand more.
Mark, every time we see one of these cases, I'm convinced that it's the worst I've seen until I've seen this Ronald Greene case unfold. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so obviously George Floyd was the worst we've ever seen, correct? 9.5 minutes of a murder. But then you look at this case and you go, okay, not only did it happen, and I'm not trying to sound dramatic, this was a criminal cover-up of a crime, of a death. Because if you look at the whitewashed presentation by them, it was he died in a car accident. No, that's like saying, you know, I stopped my car, I get out of my car and I get hit by lightning and that was a car accident. It is so patently absurd that they should even consider that they might get away with the suggestion that that person died after the tasing and the kicking and everything else and what the officer said about what they did to him. Because of a car accident. You know, that's what really undermines the system that we spend our lives in. I mean, I love the criminal justice system where I spent my life. And then to see something like this undermine it, where some people like that who kill somebody and lie about it being a car accident, means that those people that I want to trust my system, the criminal justice system, will not. And they need to be prosecuted for the lies and for the fact that they caused the death of a person unnecessarily.
All right, guys, so I'm running out of time, but I wanted to get your thoughts on Amy Cooper, a.k.a. Central Park Karen. I want you to just give me one word to describe how ridiculous it is that she is now suing her employer. Paul, one word, Paul. One.
Angry. Angry is my word.
Paul, or Mark, you.
2 words, entitled greed.
All right, fellas, thank you so very much for joining me. This was fun. Hope to have you back.
Yeah, I did one word. I'm proud of myself.
I am too, Paul. All right, guys, more Making the Case when we get back.